Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. Today's quick tip is on how to or not to use weed for your recovery from hardcore training, the topic everybody wants to know about. And by everybody, I mean potheads like you. So when we are 420ing it, 420, is that a verb? Is that a date? April 20th? Earth Day, something like that. In any case, weed has upsides and downsides, as does any other variable introduced into any kind of system. Here we go. Upsides for weed as far as recovery from training is concerned. First, it helps you or can help you relax. Big deal. Relaxation is a huge wellspring of recovery. Awesome. It just basically switches you to parasympathetic style nervous system output, and that really sets up the stage for a ton of recovery. Another thing is that weed can help you sleep, which is a huge deal because sleep is the most powerful recovery tool that you have. As a matter of fact, eating a high protein diet with plenty of calories and then sleeping a lot, that combination is like the thing that heals you and grows all your muscle. And if appetite is not your thing and you have trouble eating enough to put on weight or to recover, then weed can help you eat, which is a big deal and potentially a really good thing. Now, as big of a smoker and toker as I am, I have to admit there are downsides. First downside is that weed may wig you out either during or sometime after you were high, and it can cause you to be nervous and paranoid and all these other weird things, and speak to your ancestors that are angry at you when you close your eyes every time. Not that that's ever happened to me. Ooh, hope they're not around right now. In any case, yeah, like it can be a bad time. So weed's relaxing, and then, take a couple puffs off a joint and you have no idea who you are for 4 hours. You may not feel super relaxed. Next, if you use weed close to bedtime, it may reduce your sleep quality while expanding your sleep quantity. Then on the net balance, it does not the greatest thing for your sleep and thus for your recovery, especially at a very deep level. You can get sleep if you're high on weed, but a lot of times you don't enter into super deep REM sleep as often, and that's not that good. So potentially a downside there. In addition to that, in a lifestyle sense, weed definitely during and even for a day after can make you lazy and just averse to getting shit done, shit like work, which you need in order to buy food to get bigger, and even training, which you need in order to stimulate your muscles to have them have a reason to grow. So, a big downside there is if you're using weed to recover, but it ruins the fucking rest of your life, that's kind of shitty. And a huge potential downside of weed for many people is that it can cause you to overeat junk food, which of course potentiates a ton of gains of muscle, but also unfortunately of fat. So if you're going to toke up, smoke up, use dope, as they'd probably say in some bygone era of anti-drug proselytizing, I have a few tips for you on how to, none of this is dogma, none of this is religion, but just a few tips that you may consider trying to use if you're going to use THC. And by the way, this applies to smoking. What do the young kids do now? Vaping. I think vaping is cool. I don't even do it. I'm just like, if I see someone vaping, I'm like, that guy's cool. I don't vape myself because I'm not cool, but real recognizes realer. And of course, edibles fall under this category as well. So if you're going to use these things, take a few tips with you and see if maybe they work for you. So first tip is, and this is something I use in my life as well, I never, ever, ever in a million years ever use any kind of drugs at all, and marijuana if I haven't done my work and my training for the day yet. I do my work, my training, and then as soon as I have no more responsibilities, then I'm saying your boy's on cloud nine. But until then, I would recommend that you save that shit for another time. So a very distinct time of work and training and a very distinct time of relaxation where you may choose to use weed. Another one is, especially if you're dieting, or especially if you tend to go off the deep end and eat just like 5 bags of chips and fall asleep. If you're on weed, I would recommend having your meals pre-prepped beforehand or in the fridge or something, or just have arrangements. They're like, oh yeah, like I'm going to go to, have an alarm on your phone that says, go to Chipotle and order the following. Your friend drives you over. You're like, hello, Chipotle employee. I would like the following. You can barely read your own text, but it's good enough. Have a plan for what you're going to eat, and pre-made meals are a really good way to do this so that you don't end up like, eating only candy bars that night and no protein. That actually can happen. If you are on a fat loss diet and you're very hungry, try to figure out how weed affects you. For some people, when they're on weed, they're so busy like taking in sensory experiences, they don't even eat anything. That's totally fine. For some people, they can eat food normally and it's not a big deal. For some other folks, if they're really hungry already and they're super dieted down, just that taste of food on weed is so good that they just keep going and going and going and fall off. So if you're in that last category, if you're really at the tail end of a fat loss diet and super starving, maybe don't use weed until you're out of that 1 or 2 weeks after your diet ends recovery period, then reintroduce the weed again and then have your meals and so on and so forth. I would stop consuming any kind of products with marijuana in them about 3 hours before bedtime at the closest to bedtime, because then it cycles through and it doesn't fuck up your sleep as much. If you like toke, make sure to put it out because you don't want to fall asleep with a joint in your mouth and burn your whole house down, including your own body. If you toke and then put out the joint and fall asleep, that can put you to sleep, but it's a lower quality sleep. And unless that's the only way you get to sleep, and you probably should be seeing a professional for that, not recommended. So if you're a decent sleeper, I would say weed and the sleep I would spread out. Perceptually, like when you're taking a shower before you go to bed, this is my international symbol for showering, get at the armpits. You should be feeling like, I can do some calculations in my head. I can do a job. I have a good perception of actual reality. Like if you're getting ready for bed and you're like, wee, super loopy, like you're still high as fuck and your sleep is probably not going to be ideal, at least for the first third or half of that night. And lastly, be ready to feel a little groggy the next day. It doesn't mean something crazy happened. And it usually wears off by the first third or middle of the day. And later that day, you feel super, super awesome. But just know that it's coming so, you can contextualize it. Other than that, you know what I'm saying? Enjoy. And weed's cool if used responsibly. And after all your work is done, how lame is that? Just ruin your life smoking weed all the time. Anyway, see you guys next time.